there, brilliant people. So today I want to talk to you about the bittersweet gap. I want to talk to you about what it is and why it's important to understand it in order to help us manifest the life that we want and all of our wonderful, brilliant projects. Okay, so what is the bittersweet gap? Well, it's a term that I made up, although it's linked to the idea of the creativity or gap that a guy called Ira Glass, it's a quote from him, explaining about the fact that when you're a creative person, that often to begin with you have this amazing vision of what it is you want to create, but it may take you some years to develop the skill to actually realize it. So it's that gap and whether or not you can keep working to reduce that gap. Well, the truth is we all have something of that to deal with when we're working towards manifesting something, because when we consider the brilliant things that we want to create and we focus on them, and they're so sweet, the joy that is in that, the deliciousness of it, it's just wonderful. But of course, the more real that becomes to us, and then we look at our life today, it can actually make our life today seem almost bitter, because unfortunately, the bitterness is from the fact that we don't have that yet. We don't have that wonderful thing that we wanted to create. So that creates an emotional dissonance. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of cognitive dissonance, where you've sort of got two ideas and they're kind of arguing in your own head, or that you believe the world or reality is one way, and then you come across something that seems to suggest that maybe reality is different. And actually, a lot of our personal development can grow out of those moments and what we do. Like, do we just sort of deny the new reality, or do we embrace it? Because if we can embrace it and just sit with that apparent dissonance, eventually we will resolve that and we will figure out where the greater truth lies, and that's where our growth comes from. So that's cognitive dissonance, because that's up in your head. But when I'm talking about the bittersweet gap, I'm talking about in your heart, because we can feel it so intensely. And it's almost like the closer we get, the more real the thing is that we're wanting to create becomes for us, the more sweet that future just seems to be. And therefore, by contrast, the more bitter this current moment can feel. And if we can't hold that, if we just lose ourselves in the sweetness of the future and just, try to sort of almost disconnect from the present, well, that means that our vision is ungrounded. Whereas if we just get focused on the bitterness of this moment and go, oh, look, I'm just kidding myself, everything sucks, well, then we're not going to keep moving forward. So it is difficult. It's almost like we're having to stretch ourselves emotionally. But if we can't hold both, if we can't actually bridge that gap emotionally, if we can't actually simultaneously flow acceptance to the whatever bitterness there is in this moment because we don't have what we want yet, and at the same time embrace the joy and the sweetness of what it is we're working towards, then we can't emotionally bridge the present and the future. And the bittersweet gap, by not being able to hold on to it, we may actually end up not creating our dreams. And as our dreams and our visions of the future are part of how our brilliance is realized in the world and therefore becomes part of the future, well, that would be sad. So yeah, learning to actually be able to hold both and kind of like stretch ourselves emotionally so we can hold that emotional dissonance, that's really important. So I will talk in a later video about what we can do to actually start to bridge that gap. So until then, Remember that you're brilliant.